Welcome everybody to our new show with Markus Linnenbrink, entitled Kind for Today. You are looking at the very first piece which you see when you enter the gallery, and it is a sphere with 2 feet diameter, and it contains many materials Markus has found in the streets, which have been gifted to him by friends, were just leftovers which are not usable anymore, but they all tell many stories, and you never get bored at looking again and again and again at and into the sphere with all the different materials inside. Behind me you see the very largest piece of our entire show, which is a photo drip. If you haven't seen a photo drip before, then you might recognize that the structure of the drips is different. So they are semi-transparent, and you can look through the drips onto the photo which is behind. The photo is originated in the estate of Markus' father. He was a technician traveling the world and shooting very many photos for his own amusement and memory. And this is a photo from the early 80s and most probably shot in northern India. Opposite to the photo drip we have just been looking at, you find this wonderful painting by Markus Linnenbrink, which is from what we call the reverse work group. The reason for this is that this is completely differently produced than the paintings you know, because this one is casted into a negative which Markus has produced before. So what we see as a top layer in this painting, this is the very first part he is pouring into his negative form, and then the whole painting is built up step by step from front to the back. And in the very end, the frame is attached to the casted piece, and then it gets erected and hung onto the wall, and only after taking off the foil, the piece is encasted in two, he knows and sees the finished painting. Before, everything else is imagination. The show continues in our office space, which you might know from our previous video tours through our shows. And this is a piece from the so-called cut series by Markus. So this is a linear routing he uses to produce the depths within what we call a wall sculpture and not a painting anymore, because there is that much depth involved in these pieces. Here we have many different colors on the top layer, so it's very intense color-wise, unlike the piece over here, which has a monochrome top layer, a wonderful blue, and then you see all the other colors in the depths, in the we call the cuts of the piece. We continue our tour in the backspace of the gallery, and we are looking at another multicolor cut piece by Markus. What you might have noticed before is that the cuts are all over matte and not glossy or shiny as all the other works by Markus from his other work groups. Here you find a wonderful example of the work group of the drills, a very large, extremely wide piece which is installed behind my desk, and there are many details you find in here, many what we say drills with different diameters overlaying each other, and even going out of the total size of the painting, like something atop here where you see that the part is missing of the drill, but this is what it makes it even more interesting. Over the years, Markus has produced many more layers, so the works now are much thicker than before, and they get more interesting with these many layers. There's another very beautiful piece in our next small space, which is here, and this is the drill which entitled our entire show. This is called Kind for Today. And what I do love especially about this piece is this diagonal which goes here, where you don't find that many drills, and see the multicolored top layers he has used in this piece. We continue the tour in our beautiful front space, which is a very, very wide angle drill piece, even more than the one we have seen before. And it has one special thing which exists only since a few months, and this is silver top layer, which Markus produces as all other colors he produces himself, but here with the help of aluminum powder. Opposite there is the last very large drill piece of his, and again you see a diagonal structure like in the small painting we have seen before, and this here, the top layer, reminds us probably a bit of flower power in the end 60s. At least people of my generation would tell. Now we find ourselves in front of a very beautiful example of a drip painting by Markus, most probably the most well-known work group of his. You see the color raining down by sheer gravity from the top to the bottom and building drips in the end. Behind all these drips you see here, there's always a first layer, and this first layer is an abstract watercolor or spray painting behind it. Very often people think that Markus drip paintings are painted, but they are actually not painted. What Markus uses is kind of such a pot, and you see rests of many liquid epoxy resin layers. So this pot has been reused, but imagine that the epoxy in here is a dark green, fluent, and he takes the pot and sets it atop and pours on the edge. And then you see little lakes atop of the painting, and the actual epoxy is raining down the entire way and building the drips at the bottom part of the piece. I hope everybody enjoyed our tour through Markus Linnenbrink's shows Kind for Today. Please come and visit us in the gallery. The show lasts until June 22nd. Bye bye and see you next time.